Hello again. Back once again, winner again. Anyway, let me chill out. Back once again, season 10, that rhymes. Fully booked. We are reviewing the book, the international bestseller as it's known, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. You're here with myself, Mace.
French.
And myself, Andrew.
And we will be your podcast hosts. With the most.
Yeah. Should we just kick off?
Yeah.
Do you know what? First off, I do want to say we haven't been on for a while now, since Christmas, so we just want to apologise because we've been... Shit, these chairs are still... Excuse me.
You've been living a life. I mean, ultimately, that's what you got to live your life. So that's what we've done.
It's a combination of things. It's living life. We were due to change studios as well. So our old studio was being rented out on a long-term basis, and then the new studio was being built, and it was supposed to be ready in Jan. Hasn't been ready, so that was part of the reason why we haven't managed to come together more often. We have obviously been seeing each other and recording, but not reviewing books or meeting guests because we haven't had the confirmation of a regular studio spot.
Basically. So, now that's out of the way, let's get started. Thinking Fast and Slow, it kicks off with an introduction, and he kind of sets a tone of the book in regards to what it's about and the direction that he's trying to go with. So he first starts off by saying, why be concerned with gossip? Because it is much easier as well as far more enjoyable to identify and label the mistakes of others than to recognise your own. Do you or don't you like gossip?
Define gossip. Well, Pete,
you know what gossip is.
Yeah, no. But like, it depends. If you define gossip, gossip can be, oh, do you know what do you know what Harry next door's done? Or did you see that bird that Charlie was with that lives 3 doors down? It wasn't his missus. That's gossip. That's just throwaway talk.
Do you like gossip?
Bro, because could the news be construed as gossip? Could the Sun tabloid newspaper, is that gossip?
A lot of it is, yeah.
A lot of it's gossip.
Yeah.
It depends on the gossip then.
But if I wouldn't consider it, not even if it's not even factual, even if it's factual, it's still gossip. But do you like gossiping? Do you like having those conversations, those nothing conversations?
Do you know what? I think, alright, let me put it this way. I like to at least try and learn something, or if I'm not learning something, I'm being humoured. Apart from that, I'm not really involved. I don't like gossip where man are chatting bad about someone behind man's back and trying to chat to me about it. I'm not really into that.
But what about all like the tabloids that you see when people are like the tabloids and all the social media websites now? They're very intrusive in people's lives.
Yeah.
So they're trying to find stories that you may not necessarily want out there, just because we know controversy sells, gossip sells.
Yeah.
So hence me asking, do you like?
It might depend on who.
You're dancing at the moment, by the way.
But it's not. That's not
like
easy.
a butterfly.
Yeah, but bro, that's not an easy question.
I think it is very easy.
It's not easy,
because
Pete.
I've got a very simple answer.
Run it.
I don't like gossip.
That's what. See,
Thank you.
No.
Can I try this, bro?
No. I mean, I'm very conscious, all right, as to when people are gossiping or when it begins. Actually, it's time to tune out. So, like, intuition. Thank you. I might naturally, from experience, go into some type of gossip, but then System 2 would say, "What's all that about, bro? What is that all about?" And then I would disappear from it. I don't know if that's actually emanated from Dame Dash and all that type of stuff, and it might have actually in regards to being a bit of a chatty patty. But no. And also, I think I'm a different person from, I don't want to say from what I was, but I genuinely have far more better things to be occupying my mind with than gossip.
Double FS, rude boy. Let me tell you something. No.
I was like, what's he talking
Let
about?
me tell you something. Hold on, what's it? Let me tell you something, yeah? When man's sending texts like, yo, TalkSport right now, yo, LBC right now, what is that?
That's not gossip, bro.
Hold on,
LBC is gossip.
Hold on, French. It goes back to my point. It goes back to my point when I said, it depends what it's about. Am I learning something? Is it humorous? And it depends on who's involved in the transfer talk. That's gossip, bro.
Bro,
you're listening to that not 24/7, but if you're in the car, you've got something like LBC or TalkSport.
100%.
I'm talking about TalkSport.
No.
That's gossip,
bro. We're not talking that type of gossip.
Right. That's why I said define gossip.
No, but
I did say the kind of gossip.
And you're dancing, and that's what we're saying.
Do you like gossip or not? Like the gossip that is
you have to define the type of gossip, bro.
The type of gossip that is putting people in a bad, whether it's a bad light or not. It's just saying things for the sake of saying it. You're not learning anything about that person. You're not getting anything that's going to be beneficial to you in the long run. It's just talking for talking sake. It's air.
What did I say? Cameraman, what did I say? Did I not say?
Ballerina.
Did I not say I'm not into the gossip whereby it's just chatting bad about a person? Harry next door's done, or did you see that bird that Charlie was with that lives 3 doors down? It wasn't his missus. That's gossip. That's just throwaway talk.
Do you like gossip?
Bruv, because could the news be construed as gossip? Could the Sun tabloid newspaper, is that gossip?
A lot of it is, yeah.
A lot of it's gossip.
Yeah.
It depends. It's not really conducive.
It doesn't have to be bad about it.
Fair enough, but I said that's not really my type of gossip. I said that, so I'll leave it. And you lot's caught now. Do you like gossip? He said no.
I don't like gossip.
Okay, go on.
Not at all. I prefer, if I'm going to have a conversation, I would like it to be stimulating. I don't find general gossip, chit chat stimulating. Even about football and all that.
Yeah.
As you not know, I used to play football and I used to watch football.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I'm not really in it. I'm not emotionally attached to it. Yeah, like I don't care. Like, don't get me wrong, I can still have a conversation and have a bit of banter and do you know what I mean? I support this team, support that team, blah blah blah. Like I can do that, it's fine. But in general conversations, day to day, the conversations that I would have with you or yourself, Pete, or anyone else that's in my circle, it's not just gossip. It's not just gossip talk for the sake of gossiping. It's either going to be about it's aspirational or what's been going on or something that I can benefit from, or it's going to be mentally stimulating at least, like describing like what's happening with the book and expanding on what's going on in terms of the opinions given in it and what do you think. That's what I prefer to have on a day-to-day basis rather than just gossiping for chit-chat. It's bullshit for me personally. And
I find the stuff that we if we're referencing whether it's LBC or TalkSport, probably lesser TalkSport, but there is a method in the madness with TalkSport, but I find a lot of it, particularly with LBC, is constructive. As in, it may be, or it may, I don't know if it fits under gossip talk, I definitely don't think it does, but there is a constructive view being taken. And also, I mean, what I like to do is, by and large, I think whether it doesn't matter which presenter it is, or sometimes even the callers, the people who call in, I like the way people break things down, because sometimes they break it down in a way in which I haven't thought of before, and then I will have that conversation with another person. A great example is I had a conversation with someone today actually, like Ubering, and I don't want to go too much into it, but I mean, I had to ask him a question because I didn't have the answer for it, or was a viewpoint I've seen before, but I needed someone maybe a little bit smarter, or someone who sat on that side of the fence to break it down to me. And that's where I enjoy listening to the LBCs and stuff like that. The TalkSport, what's time now? Well, it'll be 10 o'clock. I listen to TalkSport at 10 o'clock to laugh and fall asleep. That's it. Laugh and fall asleep, because there'll be too much. Seriously, that 10 o'clock is like, it's not watershed, man, but I mean, it's like mad funny.
I kind of want to dead the conversation, but that is gossip. Just admit, like, you like a little bit of gossip, whether it's just for entertainment purposes, for half an hour to put you to sleep, or just because you know your mind doesn't have to be focused on. You can just be in system one.
No, but we're talking about like, for example, Arsenal just played this evening. I don't know what the day is today. What's the day? Sunday evening. Okay, so Sunday evening, Arsenal played. Okay, and after the game, there'll be a talk show based on the result, who played well, X, Y, Z, so on and so forth. In some way, shape, or form, that is constructive based on who played well, why didn't this happen, X, Y, Z. There's a cause and effect. Whereas, if you're going into work tomorrow and you're having a conversation on who slept with who, I don't want to know about the cause and effect in regards to that. We know why that happened. We know why that happened. I'm not interested in those. And more often than not, getting yourself involved in that type of conversation is only going to lead to, I mean, it's only going to lead to one place. You know, all roads lead to Rome.
All right. So, the purpose of the goal.
I was gonna say, why do you think people entertain and like gossip?
Because it's easy conversation. You don't have to think. You can use your system one, which we'll go into and explain a little bit about. But it is mainly using your system one. It's the easiest thing to do. And if you have to use your system two in that interaction, it's going to be the easier of a two-pronged question in terms of, if I can take the easy route to get to an answer, then I will. So I'd rather have these conversations that don't really have much meaning, but are entertaining to an extent.
or even look at it like this. I mean, there's a few things that I've actually noted down. I don't want to I'll expand on them a little bit because I know there's more to the conversation. I've actually put down a lot of this book down to environment. So we're talking about gossip. I reckon a lot of people are still trapped in primary school. I'm not even joking. Seriously, haven't evolved. I mean, at home you might not be having that stimulating conversation, or your parents are not pushing you hard enough, and as a result, you're still stuck in playground mode, and you're going to high school, you're going into work, and you're still having these type of conversations. Whereas mum and dad, depending on obviously how you grew up, are taking you to certain classes, or they're actually having certain type of conversation with you, and so pushing your mind. And if you're in that environment, it then builds up a case of not builds up a case. I'm losing track of my words, but go on. So
I was going to jump in and say, I think another reason for why people like gossip is because they want to be able to say or feel like they're doing better than someone else that they may have heard about. If they're in a marriage and they hear that this particular celebrity couple's in a crisis and they're going through a marriage, they can look at it like, oh well, at least they may have all of that, but I've got a great marriage or some shit like that. Do you know what I'm saying? So it allows them to advocate what's going on in their life as well. To hear someone else is maybe on the downtrodden path, or they're going through something, and it's just for talking sake. I really don't understand it because I'm not an advocate of it, but I do, I guess, not to say understand it, but I understand why they'd want to do it, because it's such an easy thing to do, just to chat. It's easy.
You're right, because it's not necessary to say people who gossip quite a lot are unintelligent or silly or stupid.
Not at all.
Because sometimes if my missus says to me something about this celebrity done this, and I'm like, sometimes she'll be like, oh, this celebrity's ill. I was like, what impact's that having on my life? Like, none. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's how I respond sometimes, because as far as I'm concerned, that's that world, I'm in this world. I don't really need to be, I don't care what's going on over there, it's not impacted. And guess what, something happened to me tomorrow, no one over there knows the F I am, bro.
Yeah, of course.
That's a good introduction though, I know where you're going to lead onto this.
Basically the reason why I've started off with that is because the purpose of the book, as the author says, is to change people's water cooler gossip. You know, when people go around the water cooler, grab a drink, they start talking shit. So a lot of this book is very interesting. There's a lot of facts and figures, to say the least, that we'll try and get through to an extent, but it's very interesting. And you mentioned something about System 1 and System 2, which you've all been now aware of because we've read the book. But yeah, can any one of you guys give a brief rundown of what System 1 and System 2 is, if you can explain it?
Me, you?
I was looking at you as if what you're going to do so.
I can, well you lot can add.
Okay.
So
I've got it written down.
Yeah,
so
that's fine. I'll break it down to layman's terms. So, because I know there might be more of it.
There's a detailed description of it,
breakdown.
100%.
So System 1, almost, it's essentially what Daniel Kahneman said is, you've got System 1 and System 2, and they relate to like how you perceive information, how you process thoughts, your thinking, and even to the extent how you react or act or react or behave in certain situations the way you do. So with System 1, that's more of your immediate response. Say for instance, Pox, you're driving down the road and I don't know, like a child runs out in front of you. Without even realising or having to think about it much, immediately what is known as your System 1 will kick in, because straight away you'll want to brake or swerve or do something. You haven't. System 2 is more of the thinking part. So, but your System 2 hasn't had a chance to kick in. System 1 is like your automatic response, which doesn't require much thinking. 2 + 2 = 4. That's your System 1 knows that off by hand. But guess what? 12 times 15. Now you require a bit more thinking. That's when System 2 comes into play, because it needs to help out System 1. Yeah. But the thing is, I won't go into too much detail, I'll come back to you, French, but the thing is with System 2, because System 2 requires a bit more brain power, a bit more thinking, a bit more logic, it's slightly more lazy, because guess what, you always want the easiest option or the easiest opportunity or the easiest way to work something out. So your System 2 might just, more often than not, it wants to chill out. It doesn't want to work hard. You don't want to work hard to get to an answer, or to get to a place, or get to a goal even, which is why a lot of people don't achieve their goals. So your System 2, sometimes you have to really focus with your System 2 to work out and think through, and sometimes it requires a lot of focus. So System 1 essentially is your kind of non-thinking, easy, like that. Don't have to think about it much. I could do 2 or 3 tasks at once if they all require just quick, immediate responses, which I don't have to think about. System 2, you might actually have to focus a bit more. You're going on a long walk and you're trying to work out. Say like someone asks you a question about what was in the manifesto for Labour this year, and you're walking really quickly. You might have to slow down and actually have a think about it and delve deeper and actually have to research it back in your mind. That's kind of how System 1 and System 2 work in my head anyway.
Yeah, no, it's spot on, to be honest. I would have expanded on it, but I think...
Expand, because it was like more... That was top of my head.
Nah, but I don't think, because I would have to read it and say what it literally is word for word, and I don't think it needs to be broken down any simplified than that. I think what you've kind of explained is the basis of System 1 and System 2. You gave it adequate examples, so yeah, there's no point going into it, but I was going to actually go on to... When I first read it myself, I likened System 1 and System 2 as your conscious and your subconscious. Like that's the first thought I came to.
Good point.
That's a very good,
Good point.
But leading on from what you said in regards to doing like 3 things at once, for example.
Yeah.
Now in the book, it goes on to talk about the gorilla study. Do you not recall what that is?
Go on, I might remember.
So in the gorilla study, 2 teams are put together. One team's in black, one team's in white, and they're playing a basketball game. And the participants were told to watch the game and to basically watch all the passes of the team in black, I believe it was.
Okay.
And whilst they're playing the game, a gorilla in the full-grown like gorilla suit, someone in the gorilla suit basically walks across the game.
Yeah.
But none of the participants saw the gorilla.
Madness.
It's a full-blood. It's literally when they got told that there was a gorilla in it, they didn't realise because, again, they wasn't able to concentrate and see. Their mind was specifically told to be looking at the passes of the game. So when the gorillas walked past, they was unable to spot it. So they've called what do they call it? Yeah, they call it blindness, basically. Yeah. They called it blindness. But my question was going to be, from what you just said, is do you think multitasking can be improved? Go on, P.
I definitely think it can. I think in recent time, and I've had these conversations, I definitely think it can. I mean, I've said in recent time, what I've done is a lot of my thoughts, a lot of my to-do lists, I actually write them down. So I write them down, so I actually have a lot of free space in my mind to actually have a lot of free thought. So I can actually multitask. And more often than not, I think you may wake up, just say you wake up late, you've got so many things running through your mind as to I need to have a shower, I need to get dressed, so on and so forth. But with myself, as well as obviously what you need to do for the day. Whereas my mind is generally quite clear, and I try to have a very, very clear mind, so I can actually, if I'm running late, I can just get changed X, Y, Z, and then look at my list and then see what I need to do and then get on the rest of my day. So I've got into a place where I feel I can multitask and do many, many things and achieve quite a few things in a small period of time.
You made a good point. The writing down.
Yeah.
The writing down means you're not occupying your brain with the thoughts, because actually it's on paper and you can just refer back to that piece of paper.
Incredible. Like, what's today? Today's Sunday. So yesterday, I woke up and I found my brain was running wild with thoughts. And as I mentioned a few times, I paused for a moment and I said, I need to capture all my thoughts because I'm moving very, very quick for some strange reason. And I'm saying or thinking of a lot of positive or very, very good things, but none of these things are being put down. Put them down very, very quickly, and then you can refer to them later. And more often that's what I do. When I go home, I have a long list of things that I've thought about, and I just also I don't want to necessarily keep them on my phone. I'll email them to myself, and I'll put them somewhere where I can expand on that thought, whether it's me writing, which I'm currently doing, or otherwise. So I don't lose track of things. I remember there was a time and a place where like you would have something to do and then a week will go by and go, oh my god, I remember I had that thing to do. I don't have those problems anymore. I do not have those problems anymore. And I find I'm far, far more not proactive. I get things done. I forget what the word is.
Productive.
Thank you.
But, alright, so when you're doing a multitasking action, so I imagine just for an example, when you get a mother cooking food, burping the baby, and do you know what I mean, doing 3 things at once, could you do that in terms of doing 3 things at the same time?
I'm going to say yes. I know with the example you gave, obviously women are fantastic. Women are naturally, and I'm going to say good at that. And the reason why I say that, because you mentioned a gorilla, the reason why, based on reading the book and other things, why that happened is because I know it refers into the book. Sometimes if you've never seen something before, it can come as a shock. So I'm very surprised they didn't see the gorilla in some way, shape or form. Whereas I know there was an example in the book where they saw somebody in a weird place and it's like, oh my God. But then when they saw that same person in another weird place where they don't usually see them, it become normalized. Whereas me seeing a gorilla running across the pitch, that's not normal to me. So I would have spotted the gorilla immediately in my personal opinion. Anyway, I can't speak on their behalf.
Imagine your system too so tied down, because basketball's a quick game, bro. Imagine it's pass. You're trying to count the passes. You're so focused. Say the pass is in, I don't know basketball, but say the pass is in this half of the pitch and the gorilla's walking down the centre line and the passes are going like that. You're like that, bro. And you know what? With the multitasking thing, I remember it took me a while to think about it, and I can't come back to you on how I can improve. What I can say is, with me, say for instance I'm deep focused on something. It might be a football match, for instance. Yeah. I remember there's been times people might say something to me, and without realising, I sit there and I'll be like, put chicken in the oven, put chicken in the oven. Like, no,
I wasn't expecting that.
No, but hold on, chicken's coming out in 10 minutes, or whatever it is, and I have to keep repeating it to myself. And I realise I have to do that. My multitasking is very poor. I have to do that. I have to I have to repeat something to me. And actually, it goes back to this book as well, where they say something in there about, he gives some participants for a trial. I'm sure he tells them to keep adding 3 to a number or something like that.
Yeah.
And he realised that one of the things they were doing, or had to do, or some of them done, was they'd have to keep almost muttering the words, repeating the words. Yeah, say it out. Yeah. And I do that because otherwise it'll go in the back of my mind. I'll forget. And it's because I'm focused on something else. My multitasking is very poor. So I'm hoping you can tell me if you think there's ways multitasking can be improved.
To be honest, I don't know any ways that it can be improved. I'm probably about as much as you in terms of multitasking. I can do it, but I think with multitasking, if you're doing 2 tasks at the same time, one of them is going to be poor than the other. I don't think they're going to be as equally as good as if I concentrate on one task 100%. I just know that if I'm giving 50% there, 50% there, it's more likely it's really going to be a 35-35 just because I'm doing them at the same time, and it's not really going to be conducive to me doing both tasks. That's not to say I'm against doing multitasking. I think you can do multitask things or whatever it may be, but in terms of improving it, me personally, I don't recall this book giving me any answers to do that. But who's to say? I think what P was saying is a good idea.
So I mentioned the Talent Code as a book before. I don't know if you've heard me say it in regards to Brazilians being excellent at football because it's in their DNA in terms of several generations playing football. And as you said, I thought, a big shout out to them, because we speak about we're talking about. My answer to your question was repetition, and what have women had to do in regards to, you said, I think. Burping a baby, X, Y, Z. It's because of they have to do it all the time. They have to do it all the time, and that was there was a couple of things. Something you said and something you said. Repetition. Hence, what I do is I make sure I write my notes down. I've had to write several different notes down based on who I need to talk to, X, Y, Z, and then bang, I'm able to multitask a lot better. Sometimes I can go for a day and think I haven't got a lot done, but actually I've knocked 3-4 different things off my to-do list. I mean, even I had a conversation with the cameraman, I'm not saying his name because I haven't had that conversation as saying his name, but I've texted him today as to, I want to buy a camera, alright, and then I've randomly searched something for a camera, and then I've got the answers from him, and I've had the conversation with him just before we started, but also in my mind, I probably even wrote it down, and in fact I said it when I was driving earlier, I thought, brilliant, I'm taking John a fool.
I see you said it.
Yeah, I know.
Said it anyway.
I'm taking him home. I can have a longer conversation as to the answers I need. Then, boom, that goes off. I don't have to worry about. My bad.
What I told you about this man and any time? Right.
Anyway, that's what I said. Anyway, that's something that I now don't need to concentrate on anymore.
Jeez.
Anyway, let's move on, lads.
Catch a case of this one, it's done with it. You mentioned something actually that's going to spurn on the next part. It's on 25 is actually furthermore. Did you not do the experiment exercise
I didn't.
on page 25?
I saw the experiment. I didn't do it.
That's one thing I enjoyed. That I did enjoy about the book still was that there was little exercises
You could do.
to do throughout it, and I think this one on page 25 is the one that's got it. It's got a line of left and right, and you've got to say the capital.
I did. Sorry.
Did you do it?
Yeah, I did.
How did you fare?
He was right where he said I think it was down the left column was quite straightforward, but the other side it had like
Lowercase,
it had lowercase, uppercase, and then like I'm probably wrong, but it was like maybe the word white but in black and those kind of things.
Yeah,
it wasn't
like,
the word white, but it's something similar to that. And it took me more time.
Yeah, it was upper and lower.
I needed system 2.
Yeah.
I needed system 2 for that, whereas the first one I just needed system 1.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
Was it page 25?
25, yeah. Did you do it, Pete?
No.
Alright. Cool. No.
The reason why is I'm openly.
In fact, I took a picture of this. I'm going to post it on Instagram. I took a picture of it as well.
Okay.
Of the experiment. I don't know if that even fits in the camera there. But that's the little thing there. That's the little exercise. But I'll post it on Instagram. I took a picture of it. I remember I did.
Okay.
Yeah, what was your excuse for not doing it?
Oh no, because I did an audiobook. That's the reason why I didn't do the exercise. Yeah. And mind you, it did say it has PDFs. But obviously I don't have time to be looking at PDFs as I'm driving.
That's it. Multitask.
Exactly, multitasking, but you can't do that. One bag of lies, yeah.
Come on, what's the sound effect?
But on that same page, he mentions that conflict between an automatic reaction and the intention to control it is common in our lives. Yeah. So, for example, when I read that, I first thought of when you're driving down the M-way and you see an accident on the road, and you know you should be looking forward where you're driving, but you always slow down and have a look. So
example.
I was going to say, what example can you give where you've done something automatically but probably shouldn't have? So, example, road rage or something like that.
I've been road rage, but like I think more than everyday occurrence is just like I told you, man. What was this comment? I was having this conversation with my missus where I was like, I think even yesterday we was talking, or I think I was pissing off, if I'm honest, and then like she reacted. And then I was like, that's your system 1. And then, like, I was broke down, because I was reading the book at the time, and I was broke down what system 1, system 2 goes. And then, but what happened was an hour later, I'm still like, when we had a little whatever, I was like, system 1, babe, look, just think system 2. System 1 is just your immediate response. You can't be like this at work, babe. Like, HR. Like, I said at work, you would refrain, you'd be like, but you compose yourself because you know there's rules and regulations in the workplace.
I've had the same conversation.
Yeah. So it's like, you're right. It's like I think that is a brilliant example of where you have to give a control response, especially in the workplace where deep down, and it's back to mask of masculinity and all that kind of the mask we wear, but deep down, your response was to be like, who are you talking to like that? Or shut up, like, or go away, or whatever. But you have to control and compose yourself. Draw for a little bit of system 2 to be like, okay, maybe I can't do that now, but give me half an hour. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. That was a really good example.
I think the driving was a very good one. I mean, pointing with myself. I mean, more often I think these dudes are going to get me killed. If I start looking at people's accidents, all it takes is a second or two to, take you off the road before you're in an accident yourself or get into arguing with people on the road. I mean, I've now got to a point where it's become normalised. And I think to myself, where is this going to lead to? I mean, someone I didn't even see it, but someone told me someone stuck their finger at me today. No, seriously. And I thought to myself, I actually thought, another day, another time, I might have got out of the car because I'm sorry, I don't want to take myself into that realm of thinking angry, but I'm in that point in life where I feel you need to not confront people, but actually pull people up.
You might get to this, and something you said just triggered this, but there's so many factors to factor into this as well. Example, he speaks about, he does an experiment with glucose and with the lemonade. Yeah. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
No, because I don't remember it deeply enough, I won't go into it, but it was things like that whereby, dependent, and we know this anyway, if you haven't eaten French, when French hasn't eaten, bro, it's just, we know this. So little things like, he ran an experiment and he gave, after like half of the experiment, he gave half a lemonade with Splenda, that kind of substance, fake sugar, and some lemonade with glucose. The ones with glucose performed better in the second half because they had better focus. And it's just things like that where we can get cranky. We haven't eaten food, we haven't got sugar fix, whatever it is. So you saying that, another factor to to factor into that is, have you eaten that day? Was after you had a drink? Was after you took 5 minutes to yourself?
And my thought is, if that guy had given thought to what he was doing when he reacted with a system 1 and used a system 2, there's no way in hell he would have saw at me.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So I would have liked to ask him, was that system 1 or system 2? Did you think about that?
He'd be like, what are you getting on about, bro?
Are you comfortable with his decisions?
What I do like about this book, and I wish you could, but there's certain books you read and you learn something. So it's not gossip for me because I'm learning something, But there's certain books you read and you learn something, and I'm like, things like this, if I ever went to court or got into trouble or whatever, could I take this? Could I actually...
You couldn't bring pee.
Nah, I'm not bringing Poker, no way.
You'll be right.
No way. He wasn't there until I picked him up at 6:30 from his house and then we went...
With his friend, I mean...
Exactly. No, but it's just when you read certain books like this, or part of certain books like this, and you just learn little things, it's really interesting because it's like how, with the experiments they conduct, actually... But in a court of law, for instance, I'm probably going a bit deeper about how relevant or how bulletproof are these facts and figures and statements that are made in here in a book like this. Do you know what I mean? Because it's really, someone's done experiments.
Yeah, they're all there. Everything that's in this book is basically covered from a journal.
Yeah,
from a perspective, and
it's
a lot of them are then tested out by other people that are trying to prove the same things.
Yeah,
it's done over multiple different times and over a few years. Because basically, this book is more or less him and another guy's life of work.
That's right.
This is all they've been doing for a continuous amount of years.
That's right.
Do you want to move on?
So no, I was going to ask you what number roughly you at.
I'm still on the first part. I'm literally at page 26.
Oh, that's poor. Not poor. I mean, it doesn't mean no, because when I mean system 1. When I'm thinking there, when I mean like as in when using the audio book, it will say 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's how I got my notes. So I was going to say run through 1 or 2 things that we may not have spoke about. Let me think very, very quickly. So he speaks about obviously your pupils dilating obviously when you're thinking hard. I don't know if you've had an opportunity or maybe you may touch on it in terms of flow and thinking effortlessly.
Do you know what flow reminds me of, P?
Tell me.
So, and I've used this example before, but do you lot remember the show Heroes?
Yeah.
That used to come on BBC Two. You never watched it back in the day? Heroes.
That was hard.
That was very good. That was very, very good. And it was like
the guy that could stop the time and
yeah. There was one youth now, and his eyes would roll back and he'd draw the future or the dream. That reminds me of flow. Of like
in the flow state.
The explanation of flow, because flow is when your system, because system 2 is lazy as well. It can be lazy.
It wants to be lazy.
But at the same time, if you're in a state of flow, your system 2, you're just working effortlessly and you just love what you're doing, and your system 2 is just, it's like the capacity of system 2 is being enhanced, and you're just using it all and it's loving it.
And that's why I'm taking notes.
That's flow.
So when I catch myself flowing, then I'm thinking something really, really good. I need to write this down. What else is there? There was reactionary thoughts and expressions to things said, such as vomit, and then also there was a discussion about if you offered someone £10, they may accept it here and now rather than take maybe 20 or 30 in a week's time. Then there was cognitive ease with word association. I think it was said it's done better when people are happy. Rather than obviously when people are sad. Then I think I put notes down in regards to religions and being non-vigilant, or relating to mood. Vigilant maybe, yeah. It's down to these notes being taken down poorly. I was saying it all helps with intuition and familiarity and breeds liking. Anyway, that's what's going on here, mate. Now we're talking about fonts. No, because he speaks about fonts in the book.
What do you mean?
As to when people reading, when it comes to scripts and stuff.
So why is this man going to type this up so small?
No, maybe he was comfortable with them. No. It's when people are reading certain things, if they're only comfortable with a certain font, they'll take to it. But whereas if it's in a different font, they kind of like sometimes veer away from it.
I prefer a thicker font, if I'm honest. But anyway,
hence the familiarity.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention, we've gone past it, but it's not relevant to this. It's just slightly it's different. But because it's not just about system 1, system 2. We're going to go into more. But one of the things the book starts on is actually a quick experiment with a guy called Steve and about his personality. I don't know if you guys recall that. And obviously the book's called Thinking Fast and Slow, and Thinking Fast and Slow can come in all different kind of formats. So it can be about if you prejudge someone. So with Steve, for instance, it gives a description of a guy, Steve. His personality is a meek and tidy soul. He has order and structure, and he's shy and withdrawn. Is he more likely to be a librarian or a farmer? And in this experiment, people ignited to the fact there are in this experiment, I think most people said something like librarian. But when you actually holistically look at the facts, there's actually 20 farmers to every librarian. So statistically speaking, he's more likely to be a farmer. So my question based on that was, have any of you in the room ever prejudged someone based on their personality as to what profession they do or how they are as a person?
I think we naturally do that without even trying. You may get someone that is a bit loud, a bit brash. You may automatically think, okay, well, they want to be centre of attention. Maybe they're an entertainer of some sort. Maybe like they're a rapper, or maybe they're, I don't know, a comedian of some sort. Do you know what I mean?
My thoughts when these things were said, and obviously I've tried to break this book down into very, very simple things as to environment. So the reason why we have these prejudged notes is because we've seen these things so many different times. So it's the same thing. I know it talks about in the book as to, it mentions French people in particular and stereotypes, and the Tour de France. Give a French accent. Tour de France. The Tour de France, and people referencing it when they're speaking to people who are from France and stuff like that. I think, there is a natural element to it, but I often try to second guess things and use the notion or the phrase, don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know what happened today? So obviously you man know I've got my second job. I was at work today, yeah? And I'm not going to say where I work, within a retail outlet. I was at work today, yeah? And this is relevant to this. There's a guy that works there, I'm not going to say his name either, yeah? So he works, and this customer came in, she was really, really irate. And then she basically said, I don't want to deal with you, I want to deal with a manager. This guy, bearing in mind this guy's been there 6 years, and actually he probably knew more about the subject she was focused on than the manager, because he actually works in that specific section in that area, yeah? So then he said, ma'am, with all due respect, the manager's literally going to say the same thing I've said. She goes, I don't want to deal with you because you look like someone who works on weekends.
Wow.
That was her exact words. You look like someone who works on weekends.
What does that mean?
Right. So then I was just listening in. I was eavesdropping, but I wasn't getting involved. Yeah.
Gossip.
Ooh. Actually, I was learning something.
Shots fired.
Anyway, after that, spoke to my colleague, and when I said, what do you think she meant when she said you like someone that works that you like someone that works weekends? And he said, I don't know, I've been there 6 years. And actually, she's right, I work weekends, but what relevance does that have? And why would you prejudge me to think you like someone that works weekend? Is it my appearance? Is it the colour of my skin? Is it the fact that maybe I look young and you just assume that I'm studying along with this? And it was just a weird thing for her to, it was just a thing that stuck in my mind that like, why would you say that? Because there are people at like 16 who might work in retail full time because they actually want to work in retail and I don't know, do whatever. But it was just a really, she was quite irate, but at the same time it was just a really, I don't know, it was just a weird, it just didn't strike, it was just weird.
I think that goes on to a lot of people's ego. Like that's the first thing that comes out. It may not be, that's how they may really feel. It's just their ego. They may want to feel a sense of betterment. I'm better than you. Or you work on there on the weekend. I don't even know what that means, but
yeah,
I can only assume it's a case of being an ego. That sounds like an egotistical statement. You know what I'm saying?
I was going to say, I mean, I know this is somewhere in my notes anyway, so I'm not going to try actually look at it. But that actually draws parallel with something he mentions in the book as to the media and the coverage. So, like, if we use, I was listening to something to do with, come on. I'll use Islamophobia, but that's not what I was thinking about. I was thinking, come on, what's the thing that Jeremy Corbyn's been labelled with?
Anti-Semitism.
Thank you, anti-Semitism. So they're all talking about that. So actually, sometimes people look at the news XYZ and they use it is actually being lazy in system one, and then those things then they start prejudging people. So I'm assuming for whatever reason, I don't know what your colleague looked like, but prejudged him based on the way he looked, and then spurted out those things which are or quite terrible.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I think we all do it. But I mean, that's why, again, I try to second guess things or question things. I mean, we all can be lazy at times.
What I notice I tend to do nowadays is, whereas before I might have prejudged, what I tend to do now is, I don't necessarily prejudge, but I will be a little bit more standoffish than I once was, because I'm almost working you out and I'm waiting it might be to hear some, not gossip, but just hear how you speak or hear how you move, if that makes sense, rather than automatically saying, oh, you look like you're going to be like that. Does that make sense?
I think as well, I guess, like, when you do certain things, when you're in a certain lifestyle, you have to be able to work someone out quickly. So you may approach them in a certain way, they might approach you in a certain way. So you've got a few seconds to eye them and say, alright, cool, like, what's your on your agenda? But you're not literally judging them in terms of, I'm better than them, they're better than me. It's just more, what's on your agenda? What is that you want from me? What are you trying to get from me? And that's how, like, we was talking just before we came on air, like, talking about the young boy.
Yeah.
He's living a certain lifestyle. So when he's doing all of that, he may see someone approaching him, and his automatic reaction is, "What's this, an op? What's he on?" Do you know what I mean? Like, you're just prejudging it just because you've seen someone and the way they, like, he could see you, he may not, or see Mace and not know Mace. Mace could be come to check you, and the young boy could have been with you now. He may have been looking at Mace like, right, he's dressed in a certain way. Is he on stuff? Could it be a thing? So you automatically do that.
My notes on what we're talking about, I've got obviously media coverage, thoughts, images, social media, and judgment. How it shapes our thoughts. The world in our heads is not a reflection of reality. That's what he says. Emotional evaluation guides decision making. So, I mean, the things we read, the things we see, I mean, take it with a pinch of salt. I mean, yeah, take it with a pinch of salt.
Well, even this coronavirus thing, I'm kind of... A couple of people asked, obviously you might know that I'm flying out that way in April, yeah? And a couple of people said, are you nervous? Are you worried? And I said, A, it hasn't really, I've got so much stuff going on that actually that's way down the list. But B, I'm not nervous or worried, because guess what? When you actually get some of the statistics and facts of, and it's sad, but of the people that actually, the percentile of people who are actually dying from this versus how many people have actually now been diagnosed with the virus, and actually you then break it down further, their age and all the rest of it, people don't realise it's almost a severe version of the flu, like in that sense. Obviously it's a lot more severe, but people die from the flu every winter. Do you get what I'm saying? There was a funny post I saw, funny in this kind of context, not funny, but there's a funny post I saw that 80,000 of people worldwide or whatever it is have been infected with coronavirus. Everyone's buying up every gas mask everywhere in Europe, sold out, or every face mask. 30 million people got AIDS. No one strap it. People still refuse to strap up.
Not me. Speak for yourselves. But
but do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what he says, he talks about probability neglect. So, I mean, the chances of it happening are so slim in regards to the coronavirus and all that type of stuff that people like neglect actually is a very, very small chance that can happen, and we start worrying. But at the same time, we've been fed all this information because we're so used to sit down and drawing information from the news, and it being so based about worrying and scaremongering. Thank you, that's the word I was looking for. That we feed into it, and it becomes a natural trait of us to worry and constantly worry about things that don't really matter. I mean, I'll be honest, probably because they're wearing masks, but every time I see a Chinese person, the coronavirus, the thought of it does pass through my mind. I mean, it's not a negative one by way of stereotype, but it does pass my mind. I've actually thought to myself, imagine what they're going through at this moment in time, walking around the street knowing that people are thinking they got the coronavirus.
Not me. I
don't really think that's so.
I mean,
it's a racist, bro.
You sound like you prejudging, bro.
Yeah.
I'm not doing prejudging. No, I'm just thinking what they're going through.
I mean, prejudice right now, bro.
The same conversation what we had in regards to anti-Semitism or Islamophobia and all that type of stuff. I mean, we've had a lot of things also going on in the past.